to episode 53 of the Twig Snapper Podcast. Today I'm joined by Tyrone Bronte of the Michigan Tech men's hockey team. Thanks for joining me. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Alex. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Can't complain. I got a big IM basketball playoff game after this, so
nice.
Nerves are there a little bit. Could be the last game ever.
Yeah. Really?
I graduate here in a few months and could be it. So,
Wow. Well, good luck, man.
Yeah, well, thank you.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
This might take your mind off it a little.
Yeah, it's good to plan a few kind of podcasts just to, like you said, take your mind off it. It's always, you just gotta, obviously, playing, competitive sports your whole life, if you get inside your head too much, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, it's tough to find the balance. You want to be able to prepare enough. And
right.
Be mentally prepared, but also not, over-prepared.
Yeah. Right. And it's just like a balance that you've got to find, everyone's got to find for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start by starting with you were born in Australia, and obviously hockey's not huge down there, so just kind of start by talking about how you got into hockey.
There's so many little things you could guess that you could say contributed.
Yeah.
If you really dig deep, you could say maybe when I was 6, 7, my little brother and I got Heelys. The shoes with wheels in them.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction to anything on wheels or skates.
Yeah.
And so my mom got us them, and we loved them. Then a couple of years later, she bought us roller skates for Christmas. And it was on Christmas Day, and I wanted to try them because in Australia it's the middle of summer.
Yeah.
For Christmas. Well, not the middle, summer.
Yeah.
So we went to some skate park, outdoor skate park, and we're just riding around on roller skates. And so that was kind of, among a couple other things, first real introduction to skates. And actually just before my mom bought me those skates, my good friend, my best friend growing up, tried to teach me how to skate in his garage. It's kind of funny, but scary story a little bit. And so I couldn't skate at all in roller skates, and we were in his garage playing makeshift hockey. I'd never heard about hockey either. Yeah. We had golf clubs and golf balls with roller skates in his garage, and I tripped backwards and actually hit him with a club by accident, and bumped his head pretty good. Anyway, that was how I kind of got introduced to roller skating, and from there, just kind of me and my brother loved it. We loved skating, so we wanted to try something further, and there was a roller skating rink near my house, and we went there to skate, and someone asked if we wanted to try roller hockey, or inline hockey.
Yeah.
So at this point I was probably 7, 8? Yeah, 7. And so we said, we started playing roller hockey, and I had buddies who also played ice hockey. And I had never heard of anything to do with ice hockey at all. But I wanted to try it, and my buddies liked it, so I was like, I'll give it a go. And from there, just started playing, and then the whole journey begins, really.
Yeah. So you got a later start than a lot of people. You have some people that I've been on skates since I was 3 years old, and different things. You didn't start till you were really 7. That's a... Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that, because we were actually having a chat about that in the locker room of them yesterday, I think. And we were talking about, guys who started earlier or later, and some guys you'd be surprised on our team started pretty late too. I think Jake Crespi started playing hockey when he was 8 or 9 or something, maybe even later. But it's interesting because I think it was, in a way, good that I was able to play other sports and kind of have a good, well-rounded base of, hand-eye, things like that. I played basketball, I played Australian football, I played soccer, I played a bunch of sports. So I do wish I had more exposure to hockey when I was younger, but I also think maybe it was kind of what I needed to have a more well-rounded base of athleticism, I guess.
Right, and it helped, playing all those other sports helps then with hockey.
Yeah.
You see when kids are in high school, recruiters want people who are multi-sport athletes, because it builds toughness and it can help with skill and all kinds of other things. So maybe it did work in your favor. Obviously you're at this level, so everything kind of, worked so far.
Yeah, I can say that. It's been awesome, really.
So when did you first come to the States then?
Well, so I left Australia when I was 12. In a way, I guess you could say kind of, I don't know, without trying to sound, I sort of outgrew hockey in Australia, only that I knew that I would either if I kept playing hockey in Australia, it really goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So me and my parents kind of came to the conclusion if I wanted to seriously play this sport, I would have to go somewhere else to play because there's no real future for hockey in Australia.
Yeah.
So we made the decision, and I had to decide whether I wanted to. I was only 12 years old. If I wanted to keep playing hockey or I wanted to continue in other sports that I was pretty good at as well. At least from what you can tell at 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I chose ice hockey and went straight over to a prep school in Canada at 12 years old and worked my way through how hockey works, getting picked up by teams here and there, and eventually made my way to the States for my junior year of high school. So I would have been 16. And that was my first year. I was in East Lansing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you started in Canada playing hockey, and then you came to the States.
Correct, yeah.
All right. And you played for the World Junior Cup U18 and the D2 for Australia. So talk about that, a little bit.
So, let's make sure I get my memory right. I believe it was when I was 17, my second year in the US. But either way, I had the opportunity to play for Australia, and it's Division 2. It was 2B, I think, that tournament. So it's you're not playing against the best the world has to offer, but it's still it's an honor to play for your country.
Yeah.
And it's not something I've always wanted to play for Australia and things like that, and I have in roller hockey and inline hockey, but especially as I got older, the only chances I really got to play with my brother was at these big tournaments for Australia.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the driving factor behind why I played for Australia, was because I get to play with my brother. And so we both played on that team, and it was in Serbia, which of all places, which is interesting, but it was cool. My first time to Europe, and we ended up winning. So
yeah, well, that makes it cherry on top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was awesome.
What do you remember? Like, what were the other countries in that division?
Yeah, so we played. Well, Serbia hosted, so Serbia was there. Spain, Netherlands, Iceland, Australia. So I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of countries that hockey's not huge,
No.
but they still have national teams.
Yeah.
Because I know if you go on the IIHF website, they got obviously the main division that everyone follows, and then there's so many other divisions.
Yeah.
And the farther you go down, obviously.
Yeah, it's like, really? I didn't know they had a hockey team, but yeah, sometimes we're in, because that year we're in two, so it goes top division, which is like, just top, and there's 1A, 1B.
Which is still pretty decent, because you get those bottom top teams that are like I know Great Britain is dropped down this year, so that's still pretty solid hockey.
And you get teams like France, things like
Yeah.
that. Like sometimes these teams will win 1A and go up into the top division for a year or something, but we kind of get the trickle down. We play some, but it's still some good players, and it's fun. What it was really cool, obviously playing with my brother, but it was guys who I've grown up playing with when I was really young, that I haven't seen in, I don't know, at the time it was 6-7 years, and it was weird to play again with those guys that I hadn't seen so long, but it's nice because I don't attribute when I go home or when I'm in Australia or when I'm talking to people from Australia, I don't attribute that to hockey. So playing again with a bunch of Australian guys, playing hockey was a bit surreal, but it's fun.
Right, and like you said, your first time in Europe, so like obviously that experience is something you'll never forget. Like even if you're not playing the highest level of hockey, you still get to go to a new country and experience all this new stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fortunate enough to have traveled quite a bit for hockey, but that was something I'd never done.
Yeah.
And Serbia is an interesting place actually. Believe it or not, it's it's cool to experience different parts of the world. So I had a blast. Yeah.
So would you ever consider playing again for Australia in the World Cup, like the actual World Cup division, whatever they're in?
Like the men's division?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. It really has to line up perfectly with dates because I would obviously not want to miss anything college related or further in my career, whatever that is. But if the opportunity arose and I was able to play with my brother again and it didn't conflict with any dates or anything, yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Do you think hockey is growing in Australia? I mean, or do you think it's just kind of plateaued? And
The way I've seen it, it kind of goes, it's like this everywhere, I guess, but it kind of goes up in terms of talent of players that I've seen. It's kind of in waves. Like you get every couple of years, you get a group of kids that are outstanding compared to usual.
Yeah.
Like the 99s and the 98s were like that. So when I was growing up, the kids my age and the year before me, it was kind of like a group that was better than it has been in the past. And so it seems like things are getting better, and then it might go down again, plateau a little bit. Like there's always talent, but just more consistent, you know. But the issue I think is with growing hockey in Australia is there's just not enough rinks. You know? Yeah. I was actually on. There was a question on Facebook. I'm in some Australian communities for hockey, and someone asked, "What can we do to grow hockey in Australia?" And people are all saying things like, more access to NHL games, things like that, which would help. And actually, I don't know if you saw this or know this, but there's Boston and LA are playing a preseason game in Melbourne where I'm from.
Okay.
Next year. Next season.
That should help, grow some interest. I mean, maybe not grow talent right
exactly,
but get people interested in the game.
Exactly, and that I didn't think would happen, so that will definitely help.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think it just has to be more players, That's the only way I can really see any sort of growth in hockey in Australia. And there are, we have a lot of guys overseas now playing different places. We've got guys in Europe, guys playing college, so I hope it does. I hope it does grow.
Right. It takes a long time too. You're finally starting to see like Italy is starting to climb a little bit more in some of those countries, but it takes a long time, obviously.
Yeah, it does. And it takes money. It takes so.
Right, and like you said, rinks. When ice time is limited, it makes it just that much harder.
And we know this even places here, like here when we have rinks, we have ice everywhere. It's still hard to find ice.
Oh yeah, everyone's fighting for ice time because like here you've got you guys are playing on it. They've got high school teams playing on it. They've got and then you look at other rinks around town. They've got men's leagues and beer leagues. They've got the Great Lakes Hockey League, and they've got peewees and midgets and high school. There's just everyone's battling for ice.
Yep. Which is, I guess, a good problem to have. You got more people wanting to play, but
right.
Yeah. So, I don't know if that would be the case if we had more rinks, if there would be a struggle for ice time. You'd want there to be.
Right.
But there are guys who are putting in a lot of work. A guy I've known for a while that really helps out, especially in Melbourne, where I'm from, Joey Hughes. He used to play D3. I can't remember what school, but I can't remember what school, but so he's Australian, and he's like well known in Australia for hockey. And now he's older now, like growing up, he has kids and things, but he's helping out with hockey a lot in Australia. He's doing a lot of hard work at crazy hours in the mornings with kids that he has all this extra gear in his rink that he just gives out to kids because it's so hard to find gear in Australia and things like that. So he helps a lot, and more people like that will help for sure. I hope one day to be able to go back and help coach kids and do things like that. But I will do that, and I like to, when I go home. I do like to just try and go to rinks like random times because I'm still not I'm not. It's not like I'm well known in Australia.
You left when you were young.
Yeah.
And you're still developing yourself in your own career.
But I would still like to try and be some sort of inspiration for some kids to.
Which eventually, I'm sure you will be once your name gets out there. People are going to say, "Well, look, this kid, grew up just like me, and he managed to play Division I college hockey at a major program, and all this different stuff." Yeah. It just sometimes that stuff takes a little bit of time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So speaking of playing college hockey, you started at Alabama Huntsville. The program folded. So talk a little bit about starting there and then going through that and then having to go through recruiting all over again.
Yeah, it was a bit of a wild ride actually, but it was pretty last minute. I was at home at the time. This was during COVID. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to have 2 schools reach out, Huntsville and another school. And but it was like, there was interest, but I didn't know if I'd be able to. And the thing was, like, I was interested in, I wanted to play Division I.
Yeah.
And I was getting reached out to pretty late in the process. This was late June, I think, and I couldn't get an appointment to apply for a visa or anything. So I only was just able to get to Huntsville in time to play. In the season, I got there late, but I was still able to go. So it was a whole ordeal of getting there. But I eventually did, and I'm grateful for Huntsville. Like, they gave me more opportunity than I could ask for. I showed up there, and we had so many freshmen. I think we had 14 freshmen. Yeah.
Wow.
Because, like you said, it was so the team folded, and they had to bring in new talent. It's hard to get, transfers and things like that. But and if you want to try and grow the program, you're probably better off starting from freshmen and trying to develop them, So that's what they tried to do, and look, it was nice for me for a start because I love the warm weather. I'm not really used to how it is out there.
Yeah.
But, so it was nice having it was almost like playing at home again. I've never played hockey in a warm place other than back home. So, so that was cool. Coaches were great. Carlos Zernis, assistant coach, he helped a lot. Obviously, Lance West was awesome. So those guys really helped me develop as a player, and most of it, I would say, was because of opportunity they gave me. I was playing a lot, which is awesome. It's always you want to play a lot. So that helped me get exposure, and we didn't think that the program was going to fold again. We didn't know until very late, because I wasn't looking for a new place to play or anything. I was happy in Alabama. And so the season ended, and then pretty abruptly we were told, we're not going to have the team next year, and so panic kind of set in a little bit. But the coaching staff helped me out a lot, and they put me in contact with a couple different programs, and that's where Tech came in.
So, what stood out to you about Tech? You said they put you in contact with a couple of programs, but you ultimately ended up here.
Well, so they, I got contacted by a few teams, mostly in the CC or WCHA then, primarily because we played against them the most.
Right, so they kind of knew of you at least.
Yeah. So I was talking to a few of the teams, but and to be honest, I was pretty worried about making the wrong decision. It's kind of scary. It's like, if I make it, you don't want to transfer twice.
That just makes it harder,
So like I want this to be the one place I want to go, and you're like, how do you know for sure if you're gonna make the right decision? And so the real, there's a couple factors that really played into why I chose Michigan Tech, but the first major reason, the biggest reason, is because I remember playing Michigan Tech, the 4 times we played them, and they were the hardest team I thought to play against out of any team in the WCHA. And I was like, I would like to play for a team that's hard to play against. And they didn't finish too well in the standings that season. Yeah. But I was shocked as to why they didn't, because I knew they were still, at least middle of the pack or high middle of the pack. But I knew that I was like, this team's good. Like, they're really good. I think it was the year they were really having trouble scoring. Yeah. They were really good. So I was like, you know what, just for that. One of that reason alone, obviously I liked the coaching staff. They were really welcoming to me and everything. I ended up choosing Tech for that reason.
Yeah, and obviously everything's gone well so far, and you guys are having a great year this year.
Yeah.
Which I think, I said this in the last episode when I had Morelli on. I think a lot of people didn't think this team was going to be, where you're at now. Obviously, you have a lot of freshmen, lost a lot of high-end talent like Hallinan and Bliss and these guys that were just pure scorers. But you guys have, defied the odds, and obviously there's been some struggles, like the GLI wasn't the greatest, but after that, loss to Western, you guys went on a tear and just had some consistent success. Yep. And obviously Blake's a big part of it because he's just an absolute brick wall.
Yeah, he is.
But there's a few specific. Well, one, let's talk about Carnival. It just happened. Obviously, the first game, didn't go the way you guys wanted. Did Bowling Green just come out faster than you guys expected, or what do you think was the cause or the reason, or?
Well, first of all, I think it's primarily we didn't play our best game. There's a few reasons, I think, at least in my opinion, maybe as to why that happened, but bottom line, really, we didn't play a great game. And a team like Bowling Green, if you're not playing well, they'll make you pay.
Yeah.
They made us pay last time we played them in their bone as well. That being said, I think we had a good plan, we had a good strategy, we had things set up pretty well. I don't think we played terrible.
No, you guys you outshot
we
them.
did.
Their goalie stood on his head.
He did
game too.
Yeah. Christian Stover, I know, he's a good guy. I really think that we, and you can tell by how we played in the second game, we relied a little bit too much on how we were preparing and the system we were going to use, and we kind of got away from what's been giving us success, and that's having more pressure on the other team.
Yeah.
We kind of sat back, let them come to us, and they have skilled players, they have good players, and they were able to score goals. And the second night we stuck to our plan. We stuck to our plan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which was still letting them come to us, but we knew that we had to also pressure them a lot. And that's when we started creating turnovers, and we didn't give them as much time with the puck, and that's, I think, really what changed the game.
Right. And in a year like this, obviously with a lot of freshmen, a lot of youth, there's going to be games like that.
Yeah.
Not everything's going to be perfect, but overall this season, you really can't ask for much better. Other than that, and the GLI, and there's only a couple like specific games that stick out that are like, geez, that was rough. Otherwise, it's been pretty good. Let's talk about the Desert Classic. Obviously, like coming off the GLI, it was left some sour taste in your mouth, I'm sure. You go down there and you win the Desert Classic against Boston, which is one of the top teams in the country this year. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that tournament was so much fun. We all had a blast there. And like I said before, I love the heat. So
Right. Sure, it was great to get down to Arizona.
Yeah, so being among the cacti and the sand and the rocks was nice. But no, it was cool. So it's exciting. Like the GLI obviously was really exciting, and we had high expectations for ourselves, and didn't quite. Definitely we didn't achieve them, but we didn't really have any expectations, I guess, with the Desert Classic. We obviously wanted to win, and we knew we could win.
Yeah.
And we knew that those games were huge for rankings because they're out of conference games. So in that sense, we had expectations. But it was a new tournament. We're in a new place. It wasn't our tournament, so we kind of took. I guess the way I see it was we were kind of the underdogs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure other people saw it like that too. So there was less pressure on us, and we were able to enjoy. It was getting, it's fun being away from here sometimes. Not that here's a bad place. It's just when you're playing in new places, experiencing new things.
Especially Ball Arena.
Exactly.
Brand new rink.
Exactly. You're with the team. You're with the guys having fun. We're on the scooters all around the town. So we had a good time, and I think for me at least that was a nice little reset. And I think our team we played brilliantly. We didn't really let teams take it to us too much, other than maybe in like the third period. Boston, they're gonna. They're a great team.
Yeah.
But I really think you're right. Like that's the start of when this whole sort of snowball effect really started. We were doing well before that too, but that's instilled a lot of confidence in us. That's when we knew we were going to do well. We were going to win games, but that's when I think a lot of other people as well realized these guys, they have something this year. It's nice to have that support, and we also instilled that belief in us even more. So.
Yeah, I mean when you beat a top-ranked program like that, like you said, it's important for rankings, but then also like your own confidence. Right, we knew we could, and now we did. So that you can't really ask for more than that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like we knew we could, and we believed in ourselves, but doing it's a whole other thing.
Right.
So yeah.
Then this upcoming weekend here is a pretty important series. So let's talk about what are you guys doing to prep, and just talk about the importance of this series against Mankato coming into conference playoffs, and then got obviously the tournament and everything on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to sort of get lost in everything that's about to it's getting down to crunch time. So there's a lot of things to look forward to, but I think we're looking at just what's right ahead of us right now. We're looking at this series, and everyone's really excited. It's the first sort of indication that I'm getting. I'm definitely excited, and I haven't really felt like this. To us, it feels like a playoff game. We're treating it like a playoff game. We want that first place bad. We want to win the league, so the regular season. So we're going to prepare probably quite similar to how we have in the past few weeks. We've kept things pretty structured the past few weeks. Not very flexible in practice, as in terms of like changing drills and things. We're kind of stuck to like a routine that we got going at the moment. So that's been good. We all kind of know what to expect. We'll obviously work on things systematically and things that will be a bit different than say Bowling Green. But for the most part, it'll be business as always. We'll try and prepare as best we can. Stay hydrated, get mentally prepared, because sometimes it's easy to not really think about the games ahead until Thursday, Friday even. But at least for me, and I'm sure for every other guy as well, we're already set on what we want. It's in our brain, so that'll contribute to a good week of practice too. So.
And they're a dangerous team. I feel like they're kind of similar to you guys this year. They lost a lot of talent. They've got some young guys, and they started off the year hot. They hit a little bit of a rut, and then they kind of figured things out and climbed their way back. So similar kind of to you guys, similar team, definitely dangerous.
Yep.
So I think it should be a good battle. When you've got two teams that kind of have the same, look, obviously it gives you what you want. And like you said, everyone's treating it like a playoff game. It almost feels like those are the implications around this. Like obviously if you don't get first place, not the end of the world,
right.
But having it's a whole lot nicer.
And it also kind of sets the tone, and it sets a precedent of who we are as a team going into playoffs as well.
Right, so you win this series, you get first place, and then you can take momentum into playoffs, which obviously in a tough conference like this, anybody can win in playoffs.
Right.
I mean, remember last year, Ferris gave you guys a run for your money.
Yep.
That was a really...
Yeah, we came out on top, but it was...
Yeah, it was a battle, and you're seeing that a lot this year with different weekends. I mean, Ferris has been really competitive, but then this last weekend, Northern just smoked them, which I didn't expect.
No, that was crazy.
So
they have 17 goals.
Yeah, I think they won 9-3 and 8-3.
Yeah.
Especially with the year they've been having a little bit of a down year, and Ferris, I thought for a while there they were having a better year. So then when they smoked them, you just never know what to expect in this conference.
No, you're right.
And then Mankato split with Bemidji, so it.
That was nice to see for us.
Right, I'm sure you guys were happy about that.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna do the same thing regardless, but it was they're beatable.
Right, we all are.
We're all beatable. But,
exactly.
But it's sometimes that reality check, okay, that's how it felt. The Desert Classic, to go back to that, it was. Once we beat Arizona, it was like, okay, teams are beatable. We can beat these teams, and sometimes even when you don't think it creeps in, that thought sometimes creeps in, it's gonna be a tough game,
Yeah.
But it hasn't been like that at all this year, so I've been really happy with it. And to go back to this weekend, my family's my parents are coming to Mankato. That's the first time they'll watch the college game. So
that'll be exciting.
So that's pretty cool for me personally.
It's big for you, on top of the fact that it's big for the team.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, talking about teams being beatable, I feel like in college hockey this year it's been just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good point.
This past 2 weeks ago, St. Cloud were they number 3 or 4, and then they got swept. Yep. You know what I mean? So even these top 5 teams, they're all beatable, and other teams are exposing those weaknesses. I mean, that was last week, and there were 3 or 4 shootouts. It's been a crazy year. I honestly, if I had to pick right now, I'd have a hard time picking who I think could win it all. Mm-hmm. This year I think is closer than last year, and last year was pretty tight.
Yeah.
I remember in the playoffs everyone was like, well, it's kind of anyone's to win.
Yeah.
This year really feels like that.
I agree for sure. It's keeping up with all the scores on CHN.
Yeah.
It's fun because it's just everything's like, oh, there's another crazy result. It's always something like that. So.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have more of like a March Madness basketball feel this year, with like possibility for these upsets and lower seeds making a run. So it's gonna be exciting. Yeah. But like you said, you gotta focus on the present.
Yep.
It's so easy to get caught up in
the
fact that the next couple months here are gonna be crazy. You can so start thinking ahead, and then you get inside your head, and it's obviously it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's hard not to be excited for the future, but
right.
And it's even more hard if you're not really playing for, like, say, however you finish the season. Like the last 2 games don't have too much of an effect, which is not the case for us. But at least in that case, in our case, it's nice that we get to we're kind of deciding our own fate for the start of the playoffs. So it gives us motivation to really put our everything into this.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end it. I think that's a good point. Thanks for coming on this episode of the podcast. It's been great having you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Yeah, of course.